Round of 16, he is DRG.
And his opponent, spawning down on the bottom right for Onside Gaming. It is the blue Protoss player. Give it up for the American Neeb.
Steadfast Neeb. He topped a group that included Yun in it, who has incredible PVT, although I guess he didn't face him. He did face Uthermal. Regardless, might we say with Neeb's most recent EPT runs and how he's looking here, is he on fire?
Oh, he is absolutely on fire. It is on fire, Alex. At on fire Neeb, he is looking, you mentioned it, as good or maybe even better than he did in 2017, 2018. He is looking really, really on point. It's interesting because sometimes all you need is a little bit of a change. He was on Ting. A great, partnership that they had. Unfortunately, it did come to an end. But after Katowice, he kind of got his passion reignited. And now he has come back with a fervor and a vigor that we have not seen in a very, very long time. And, this game, in order to be good at it, you need to play it obsessively. You need to love it. And Neeb, when he loves it, it comes through, and you can see some really, really impressive stuff out of him. He's already made a pretty nice run so far. You mentioned a really, really, well, he won DreamHack Masters North America, and everyone's going to be like,
he's only North America. All you have to do is beat Scarlet and Australia.
And it's like, shut up, man. Like, go home, get your scuba gear off. Why are you wearing that here? But he's already had a really great result. I don't think he's dropped a map yet in this tournament. Now, granted, he's only played 4 maps, but, it's 2-0 laser, 2-0 Uthermal. Clean sheet so far.
And we've seen how good a laser looks. Granted, we've seen a lot of a laser looking really good in ZVZ. His EVT maybe a slightly shakier, or his opponents are just better. But now that's not even true. He dropped maps to Kelazir, and he just beat Solar and Ragnarok 6-0. So
yeah.
ZVZ looking very, very good. But I think the thing we got to look at, you talk about Neeb. Who cares about the Uthermal result? We'll talk about it more if he plays a Terran. But 2-0ing a laser, Neeb has been talking. When you talk to Scarlet, who is functionally a teammate of Neeb's, not really, but Neeb did boot camp with Scarlet in Toronto at the shop of IT Mouse, and they're very good friends. They have been on teams in the past. She says Neeb is the best foreigner in this style. He's the best foreign PvZ that exists on the planet right now, and I'd believe it. The form he's showing.
Yeah, and it would. The funny thing about that is that would match up with 2016, 2017 Neeb. He was, for a period of time, I genuinely feel that he was the best player in Legacy of the Void. I think he understood the game better than anyone. His mechanics were extraordinarily clean. This is, of course, before Serral's rise to dominance. We didn't get to see him go up against enough Korean players, which is really, really unfortunate. I know at BlizzCon he suffered the reverse curse, the GSL group curse, I think, where he lost to Rogue in a rematch after 199 army supply to 200 army supply game that he won in the previous series. But yeah, some crazy, crazy stuff. Neeb, he's looking like his old self again.
And isn't it topical, Steadfast? We talked about how this new hero style feels very much like a ZVT is. DRG playing Scarlet style. I feel like we can call. I don't know if actually Scarlet invented it, but I've seen it from her first, so we're gonna call it Scarlet style.
It's pretty common. It's pretty common across a lot of Zergs. But I mean, she is the one who's doing it a lot. She's doing it a hell of a lot. But yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say that's what it is. But anyways, point being, with this new hero style that Neeb has been playing, the Swarm Toss, as I think you like to call it, what is it? It kind of makes sense that the former Terran professional is the Western player that kind of takes this to like a fish to water the most, because it is a very TVZ-esque play. That was sexy.
Just scoots in, steals 6 drones out of DRG's pocket. He'd already killed 3 before this. Very, very nice find right there for Neeb. And we talk about oracles. If they stay alive, we're like, oh, okay, you got, 2, 3, 4 drones. Yeah, those are pretty successful oracles. Getting 9 drones, those are extremely successful oracles. Those are a really, really nice start for Neeb here. DRG, though, Already got some great creep spread. His 4th hatchery is already on the way. Neeb, just looking around, wants to make sure you're not doing anything too crazy. Yep. Just getting some general scouting information with these oracles. I like this opening for Neeb so far.
Yeah, it seems to work really well. Neeb just has to be careful, of course, that as +1 will complete. I mean, Neeb is aware that that Evo chamber is there. He's aware that, okay, this is probably +1 melee. He's got to be a little bit careful when he moves out. Maybe pay even more attention to staying on the edge of creep. Don't really move too far forward, because again, the point of this, you surround the stalkers, you force them off the map, and you force the Protoss to turtle a little harder than they would like. But talk about being on the edge of creep steadfast, DRG has it really far forward at the 6-minute mark.
Yeah, it has been pretty much uncontested, and Neeb, he's going to be getting up to 9-gate Blink Stalker. He did get a Robo, so this might actually be a really massive commitment. He's stopped building probes at 60. No sign of a 4th base at the moment. I think this is just going to be a very, very big commitment right here from Neeb with +2 and Blink. Not the hero style per se, but kind of the hero opening, but an all-in follow-up. Ooh, Ling's on the backfield. Oh, DRG will get forced back. Is there enough roaches to deal with this? I don't know. This is a scary attack.
I mean, that being said, the supplies right now for DRG looking really good. Actually, the Lings, which are what DRG has committed a lot of his money into, they're not going to get much of anything on the backside, but there we go. There's the gateways all dropping down. 8 or some number of stalkers, 7-8 stalkers warping on in as the Lings now go on forward. But we got to point out, as good as DRG's creep spread is, he went for breadth, not depth. Not a lot of density on the tumor, so Neeb actually knocks it down rather nice. He opens up an attack path into this 3rd base. He blinks back stalkers one by one, as now we just got to wait for a couple more Lings. But Neeb is playing this tremendously well. And of course, Charge on the way behind this one. He's going to be able to eventually have a much better composition to deal with just this Massling Roach.
Yeah, this is already looking pretty darn good for Neeb. DRG is trying to hold on, but basically every time he moves forward with these legs, oh, nice blink forward, snaps off a Ravager and kind of stays at safety off of creep. But this is really starting to ingress hard into DRG's territory.
One thing we got to point out there, Steadfast, Neeb forgot to turn off the energy on his oracles. His Lings are going to find a bunch of zealots running over. So these oracles, they have no energy. We're not going to have any stasis here, and actually Ling's getting the zealots as they rally across. But the big deal, of course, is, again, the oracles having no energy, which means no stasis, which means no way to really deal as nicely with the Ravagers, with the Lings. So that actually is going to force Neeb back here for a moment, or at least it's going to negate a lot of the power of this push. But look at the position Neeb is pushing through. It opens up this gold base to him, and if DRG doesn't do anything about that, gold base is Neeb's 4th. It is going to rapidly snowball.
Oh, it's going to be a really big problem. Neeb does start up his +2 weapons behind this and will go for that gold base. He's going to try and distract with the Zealots. They are doing a pretty good job of segmenting off a lot of these units, keeping the Lings out of the fight. More Stalkers warping on in, and we're starting to see the army supply really get close. If we look at the army value, it is massively in favor of Neeb at the moment. He is continuing to just get value with these Stalkers. Really, really good job avoiding the just keeping them alive. He does want to, make sure to cycle back a lot of these Stalkers. A lot of them are very, very low on HP. As we see more Zealots warping in, though, and no Lings in the fight currently for DRG, Neeb might end up just pushing on forward here and pushing on through. This is looking pretty scary. Ling's going to go in on top of the 3rd base of Neeb, and will actually force a big recall. There was no cannon or shield battery or anything in the mineral line. Gets a ton of damage done, forces a recall. Oh, that's a really, really nice kind of breather that DRG will be allowed to take now.
Man, Steadfast, we talk about this style. It is all about the momentum of the Protoss, all about just unrelenting pressure. So now allowing DRG to have some time off, allowing him to sit back and maybe be a little happier is going to be key, because he respreads creep on that high ground, and now Neeb is going to struggle a little bit harder to push on forward. And if he's not able to regain the high ground, that means DRG can move on to low ground. It means DRG can start putting pressure onto Neeb's base instead of the other way around. But look at this. That is we have +2 melee, but the Bailey Nest only just now getting started, as now here comes Neeb. He gets a decent trade, but without an observer and without oracles where he is, it does feel like he can't really find his way on the high ground just yet, because he cannot remove the creep spread. Actually, where are the oracles? I guess they're still bottom side, regaining energy. Zealots are going to find this base from DRG, and he's going to have to rotate his army on over. But +2 Zealots, they do a lot of building damage. It looks like DRG should be able to hold it off, though. Zealots into the main base, just distracting these queens. And has Neeb stretched DRG enough to move back onto that high ground?
He's looking for that moment. Oh, it looks like the hatchery did just barely stay alive. DRG, nerves of steel, it looks like, because that either he just wasn't looking, or I don't know what else it was. He is going to try and push to this high ground now. And, oh, corrosive biles. He walks into his own, loses a Ravager or two. That was really unfortunate right there for DRG. We are seeing Neeb starting to really push forward here. He's got a lot of Archons. They do have +2 weapons. If they can ever connect with those Ravagers, it is very scary. There's no Banes just yet in this army for DRG, and so his army value is not as high as he wants it to be. Corrosive Biles are going to hit on home, but here come the Archons. They are starting to really chew through these roaches.
Oh, this fight is going so well for Neeb. It was looking... Well, actually, the Archons, now they're starting to fall down here. Do we have any more Warpins? Because Ling's found so much value in the natural and the main. DRG was able to sneak some things through. And Warp Prism is not here. So these Stalkers, you got to warp stuff into that gold bases. Now DRG's getting damage on the gold base as well. The supply is starting to equalize a little bit more. It's +2 versus... Well, the Carapace actually making a big deal. But now Stalkers, they run on forward. That may have been a bit too greedy here, but the Roach value, it continues to fall down. Oracle's actually out of energy as more and more probes go down, but Zealots, now they're going to find their way on top of this hatchery. 10 drones have fallen. Neeb now moving on forward on the knife's edge, but he's opened up a 15 army supply lead. He's going to be able to get the base on the back. Neeb, you got to target the base down, but he's not going to get it just yet. Stalkers blink left, trying to make something happen. Re-engaging once again, and now the base does fall. It seems like Neeb has been able to wedge his way in here, and the Lings aggressively for DRG. They're down. What a sequence. It seems like Neeb's come out on top, though.
Absolutely, he has. Even if he took a little bit of damage on the backside, he's able to replenish his probe count so quickly. This hatchery that was damaged from earlier doesn't have any drones currently mining at it, but Neeb can theoretically get on over there. Oh, nice placement on the Spore Crawler, and he targets down one of the Oracles. Oh, Neeb, he actually kind of stops moving for a second. Meanwhile, though, Lings do get into the natural, find 9 probes. Zealots are going to be able to warp in and will deal with this. We actually do have +2 Carapace, so until the +3 attack finishes, the Lings no longer get two-shotted by those Zealots. This is actually a real nuisance. These units are very well upgraded for DRG. 212 on his upgrades. But ultimately, the Zealots will deal with this, will clean this up. Neeb, I think he needs to keep the pressure on, though. At the very least, you want to deny this base on the top right side.
In fairness, Neeb, yeah, he lost workers, but he is up 10 workers. He has that gold. He's not even really worried about the gas perspective. It is just for the minerals to power the economic engine. Oh, what a scout there. He's going to force the cancel immediately. Yeah, you don't get your pylon, but I don't think Neeb's upset about that one.
No, he is more than okay with this. And now he is going to transition into some of the tenets of the Swarm-style Protoss, which is rebuilding Oracles. Building Oracles after they've gone down. Oh, and he scouts these Banelings, trying to morph on in once again. That's a fair bit of lost, resources, losing those, having to cancel them twice. It's the equivalent of, like, what, 4 or 5 Banelings? Oh, he's going to find more. Damn. Very nice little pickoffs. Zealots will get cleaned up on this right side. They're not able to take down this base. Banelings are not here in big numbers. A lot of Ravagers, but Zealots going to try and get into the natural during all this. No, they're just going to kind of waddle into the fight. Stasis Ward hits the lowest HP Queen you've ever seen, but Neeb is pushing on through. He's done it. He's broken his opponent and will take game number 1. Very nicely done from Neeb.
Yeah, the Stasis Trap actually saved the Queen's life, but it also took down the last little bit of anti-air that DRG had on the field. That means Oracles reign supreme. And Steadfast, that game, what is exactly what we were hoping for in this series? Ooh, that's cool. I just got a message that after this series, we might be able to bring on, it'd probably just be an audio call, but Laser wants to get interviewed. So we might get him after this series. That'd be really cool. I don't know how that's going to work just yet, but folks, be excited for that one. But looking back on this series now, that was exactly what I was hoping for Neeb DRG, because that was razor-thin margins really up until the very end.
Yeah, that was really, really close. That was really just watching two, prize fighters actually beating the living hell out of each other for 4, 5, 6 minutes. Neither side getting an advantage, neither side really giving an inch, until all of a sudden Neeb was able to find just a little opening and peeled the armor of DRG away. Got the job done. Very nicely done.
All right. A laser
And-
messaging me in game. Hi, what's the plan? Well, we're gonna get in game. So hopefully that's gonna make that happen. There we
Yeah,
go.
he may decide he wants to like go out for food or something. No, he's got to be watching this match, right? Well, I mean, he's worried about Dark in the next round, but I feel like you would still watch this match. He might be watching Lambo versus Hero. Both of these are going to be the kind. I feel like DRG actually meshes with his style a lot more. Yeah, so that would be. It would kind of make more sense for me at least for him to watch that, but I think they're both very valid and very good learning experiences for him, even if he's facing a Zerg in the next round.
Well, we're going to have to see what exactly this Zerg has in store for us as Game 2 on Tropical Sacrifice, which is rapidly becoming my favorite map in the new pool, Game 2. In the upper right, in the red. He's been looking good, but he's looking good enough for Team NV, DRG.
And his opponent, spawning down on the bottom left for Onside Gaming. It is the American up 1-0, giving up for Neeb. And I want to point something out a little interesting to me about the opener from DRG. So most players, you get hatch blocked. You're like, okay, I see the probe. You send the drone out a little bit further. It goes down the ramp, or it goes to the ramp and it sees the probe and it's like, okay, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. I can't build this. Okay, send it to the other base. And during that, because they know that there's a little bit more distance between this base, even if you lead like super far, generally speaking, most players will build that extra drone, because it takes that extra distance of travel. DRG, he pre-builds that drone. He did that in game number 1, and he's done that again in game number 2. So just a little interesting stylistic choice to make it so that all of his games are consistent, because if you go for a 16 hatch versus a 17 hatch, 16 hatch, when the pool finishes, you start up 2 queens instantly, you double inject right away. But if you train yourself to have the queens, mistimed a little bit, like not quite aligned, the muscle memory is going to be easier to learn in that regard. So an interesting little choice, and maybe some psychology behind it coming out from DRG. And I'm really curious to see if that's what his thought process is.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'd love to talk to him, but while we may get a laser, I don't know that we'd get DRG, because I don't know if we have anyone that could translate Korean, and it's a whole, well, we could try to make it happen, but I don't know that it would. But before any of that happens, Steadfast, we got to get through this second game as Neeb. We're not seeing any of the proxy Stargate shenanigans just yet. That appears to be something that is really in the purview of Creator and Hero for the moment, as the diaspora of Protoss builds starts to spread across the different scenes. But for now, well, we're going to see an Oracle on the way. Again, Neeb moving in. But the question I ask myself is, how many Oracles does Neeb get? Is it the 1 into a really quick blink? Is it 2 or 3 and you get delayed blink? How many forges does he get? It feels like Tropical Sacrifice is really the best map in the pool to go double forge as well. So all these things, again, we talk about how much you can branch out. Well, it does ask a lot of questions.
Yeah. It's a really, I love the map. And for all the reasons you mentioned, something very interesting we just saw, by the way, out of Neeb. So normally you run in, you see the third base, you turn around with the probe. That's it. You save it, you send it back home. That's what you do. That's the long and short of it. But he actually committed all the way up into the main base and looked for the gas to see if it was still being mined. I wonder if he is concerned about the concept of like maybe a Roach Ling all in or a Ling Bane all in, something that maybe even a quick Nidus worm, quick Nidus all in off the back of maybe continued gas mining at a very quick layer. I'm really curious, because that is not something that like any Protoss players do, and I wonder if he is concerned about that. At the very least, he is concerned about it, but I wonder what his thought process was.
I mean, we have seen Dark, I think, explicitly or very specifically going for these Ling Queen Nidus all-ins against the hero style, and it works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes. In fact, it seems to be a little bit less of a thing than what it used to be. It seems like Dark just killed everyone with his Nidus play. on the 2 Stargate style. But for now, Oracles are on the field. And with these 3 Queens here, it's going to be difficult for Neeb to get much done. But, okay, DRG, never mind. I was going to say, supply blocks, he lost something. But no, he's okay. And now here come the Oracles. DRG actually very heavy on his Queen count at this point. He's already on 7 Queens. And that is going to be enough to shoo away these Oracles for the most part. But it's not like this is going to be enhanced aggression, right? It is only 7 Queens. He's not building any more. And, well, Oracles, they just don't get anything.
Yeah, some great positioning so far from DRG with those Queens. 3 in the main means he doesn't have to build a Spore, even against double Oracle. Basically, because if you were to dive in, you would... If the Queens are well positioned, you're pretty much committing to losing one of those Oracles. And Neeb, he doesn't want to lose an Oracle right here. Oh, he is going to try and dance past. There's no opening. Third base. Oh, wow. What the hell? That was a very... Oh, okay. It was to respond to a stasis board. Okay. 4 drones, though. Wait, where... Are they... Oh, we lose the Oracle. Were they just at this base?
Yes, the Oracles killed the drones. But my question... Wait, is there a... Okay, there is a 3rd Oracle somewhere on the map that we weren't following. I guess that's where the stasis came from. But no, yeah, DRG, he pulled not only to avoid the stasis, but also because he kind of knew the Oracles were moving in, and he didn't have much anti-air in that quadrant, or that third of the 3rd base as well. So you pull off for a second, but still, 4 work is nice. Not enough to justify the loss of an Oracle necessarily. But one thing I want to point out here, this is a slightly later blink than... Well, it's not slightly later, but it's closer to 7 minutes than 6, and... DRG, his +1 melee was also delayed. Got started right around that 5-minute mark, about 20 seconds later. So it's going to match up with the variance of the build that Neeb has gone for in this game. And that's hard to figure out, honestly. You just got to see how many Oracles there are and maybe figure other things out from context clues. But Neeb now active on the map. His blink is still a ways away, and it feels really dangerous here. I mean, you got the Oracle steadfast, but that is not a lot of stuff.
No, it is not. And even with double Oracle right here, oh no, Neeb not responding right away. He is going to lose all of these units. The Oracles turn on their Pulsar Cannon, but it is far too late. Doesn't even take that big of a toll. That was a really, really nice cleanup. 23 Zerglings for 4 Stalkers, 2 Adepts. You'll take that every day, especially just before Blink completes. And we got to talk about this. DRG getting double melee upgrades. I was saying that I think I like the concept of this play a lot in the current meta.
And this is actually something Scarlet has... I mean, this is how Scarlet has been choosing to play ZVP. You go, you get +1 melee, you get as lucky as DRG did in this game, where you knock down all the pressure that Neeb had on the map, or your Protoss opponent had on the map, and then you steamroll. You get heavy upgrades, you get melee and Carapace, and you steamroll to Hive, you move into that Ultra Den, and you just try to do what you can to maintain your tempo on the map, because eventually, we talked about this, I want to say in the Scarlet Creator Series, you get to a certain point where there are, no, it was yesterday, there are too many Archons, there are too many Immortals, and the Ultras, they just continue, and too many Stalkers, the Oracles continue to melt, or the Ultras continue to melt. But if you're able to keep worrying down the economy and worrying down the army of Neeb, then you're very, or of the Protoss, then you're very happy about things.
Yes, you certainly are. You're going to be ecstatic about that, to be honest. But in the case where you can't stay on top of it, you can't keep them from, you talked about it so much, this 5th base, from taking a 5th base and securing it. If you can't do so, if the Protoss is able to mass expand like that, it becomes such a scary thing to deal with. 2-1 is going to be finishing up here for Neeb, but DRG has been pretty much undisturbed during all this. Ooh. You don't want to push up this ramp even with that number of lanes. It's a little bit of a bold move, but Creep really starting to get aggressive across the middle of the map here.
I mean, Steadfast, we're just seeing the repercussions of losing those Stalkers and losing really the expeditionary force of Neeb early on. Before Blink was complete, it meant that DRG could expand his presence on the map pretty much without any sort of problems. Neeb is now getting that 5th base bottom side, is +2 armor, getting started, but it's not even 9 minutes in. The lair getting on the way with Baneling Speed finishing it up here. +2 is going to be ready soon, and there were 2 pylons in that. Well, I see you pointing it out. That is the target. That is so much less HP than, say, a gateway, something that you actually don't really want to bust on through. But now Lings, they're going to find their way right side as DRG Spritz gets his ready for aggression on the left side. Ling's going to find their way on in, but actually fantastic blinks here from Neeb. He just finds his way on through. The pylons do go down, but Stalkers, they're the only bit exposed. Actually, no, there's a way in, and now here come the Lings, here come the Banes. Neeb's going to lose pretty much everything at this third base, but can he take a good enough trade on the right side to justify it?
I think he actually was able to do so. Oh, but if he loses this Nexus, which he will, and the recall gets canceled. Oh, if he had kept that Nexus alive, I think that was fine, but it was +2 melee Zergling, so many of them left over. And now we're seeing Neeb, he is kind of caught on creep a little bit. Will be able to blink back out, and he does have battery overcharge available, but DRG is just going to click it down with those Lings. Stasis Ward not getting what Neeb needed, and with that, DRG is going to knock Neeb out of game number 2. We got even Stevens for this map.
That was crushing. That was a crushing victory from DRG. And you want to say what the difference was? What was it? The 4 Stalkers, a couple of Depths, and the Zealot. They died in the middle of the map. It is the style that Neeb is playing is so strong and so dynamic if it's allowed to be aggressive. If it's allowed to put pressure on the Zerg, it's allowed to not creep spread back. But if you just try to turtle on 4 to 5 bases, it feels so much harder for Neeb. And we saw it in that game. And just immediate. The map was taken, DRG on 5 bases, +2 melee. Everything goes down. And, well, Neeb tied up in the series now.
Yeah, really, really great showing right there from DRG. His creep just continuing to push forward consistently, always putting the pressure on Neeb. And part of the reason why those units got caught is because there was so much creep. Such a phenomenal showing right there from DRG, and he really didn't give an inch.
Yeah. So inside and out, map 3, a much smaller map. A map that, again, it's kind of hard to take the 5th base. It's a little harder to even get your 4th necessarily. But if there's a map, I mean, it seems like Creator's the only one going for these kind of 2 base all-ins for the most part. And it looked really good against Scarlet. Let's be real. But if there's a map, it feels like that maybe Neeb wants to put that additional wrinkle into his play. Well, this kind of feels like the map we would expect to see it on, right?
Yeah, I would think so too. I would think this is the kind of map where we would see something maybe a little bit cheeky, but honestly, it's kind of up in the air. It's kind of an option for every map at this point because everything's new. Not everything is figured out. No one knows, obviously there's some very obvious tank spots and stuff like that, but there's some nuance that you might be able to discover that maybe gives you an edge. And game 3 is definitely the kind of map where you would want to bust something out like that.
Yeah, if you got a map to give and you'd love to go up to 2-1 regardless. So folks, game number 3 is here. It is Neeb, DRG, tied up at 1 apiece, inside and out. In the bottom left here, absolutely smashing his opponent on Tropical Sacrifice for Team NV, DRG.
And his opponent, spawning up at the top right for Onside Gaming. It is the blue Protoss player. Give it up for Neeb in the top right. I was going to say in the blue, but I realized I already said in the blue.
Well, maybe he's feeling rather blue after game number 2.
I know I certainly would be. That was a bit of a tough loss right there. It feels like, whereas in game number 1, he kind of controlled the tempo with that big 3-base blink push. He didn't quite win the game. He definitely got an advantage from it, though, and he didn't kind of let go of it. It felt like instead DRG was the one who was able to inflict his will on that map. And I gotta kind of go back to something super important. The pylons in the wall, it was just dumb. It was just dumb on the 3rd base. There was no reason to put 2 pylons there instead of a gateway. Like, maybe he miscalculated the wall, but even if you do that, like, it's worth building an extra gateway to make sure that you have the extra HP, because that's really what broke the game wide open, was the death of the 3rd base. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Neeb, he would have been fine, I think. Nothing else changed in that game. He would have been fine if it wasn't for all that Ling Bane getting it on top of the 3rd base.
It's kind of funny, Steadfast. You say, oh, yeah, that broke the game wide open, but really, it kind of feels weird to say, oh, it broke the game wide open when it just ended the game. Well,
Yeah,
you know, it's like, well, yeah, we cracked the coconut open and turned out it was rotten and it just ended. But for now, again, Neeb is trying to punish, but DRG, he's not quite being as greedy with the link count. He did get 4 instead of 2, so no pylon blocking there, no insanity that we saw say Creator due to Scarlet. Although I think, wasn't that the game that Scarlet ended up winning?
No. No, it was not. She got ahead though. She got significantly ahead after she defended the Glaive Adepts.
That's right.
This is really interesting out of Neeb, by the way. Oh, wait, what? Okay. He's going to open up 3 gate and a Stargate. Neeb did go for a very quick Stalker, by the way, which implies to me that he really, really wanted to deny the Scout, or at the very least, if a Scout came in, get the kill on the Overlord. So the fact that he's not going to be able to do that that's really unfortunate for Neeb, actually. That kind of sucks. The purpose of his opener has kind of been invalidated, or it just never was valid.
So Steadfast, 3-gate Stargate. What is... that's one more gateway than you need. I was almost expecting to see Neeb maybe even just cancel the Stargate or cancel the gateway. Say, you know, DRG, I fooled you. But that's not happening. We're not seeing anything come out of the Stargate just yet, as Neeb spending his money elsewhere. Adepts find their way onto the other side as he looks to take his third base. This is 5 Adepts on the map rather early. There comes the Oracle. Oh, okay, that's what it's going to be. Sometimes we see this against Terrans, where you just get a couple Oracles, but you get a decent amount of Adepts as well, or against Protoss, for example, and then you just force your opponent to make difficult decisions. Where do I defend? Because there is income damage, or there's income threat on multiple spots at any given time.
Yeah, there's actually a few reasons why it's pretty good. There used to be a way of playing, by the way. It was 3-gate Oracle, and it was usually you would go Stargate first though, but you'd get like 2 or 3, maybe even, usually 2 or 3 Oracles, and you'd have like 10 Adepts, and you'd push across the map. If there was no Queens, or if it was Queens there, well, basically the Oracles covered the Adepts versus Lings, and it was really, really difficult to deal with. We are seeing something conceptually similar, but the build order to get there is very different. DRG has built a ton of Zerglings to try and deal with this, but, I mean, so far he hasn't been able to get too much done. We are going to see, he commits forward with the Adept Shade after baiting the Queens out of position. Here is this great position from Neeb. DRG is going to be forced away. Oh, Neeb, he shift queues an attack command on these drones. Oh, he's going to actually shade into the main base. We'll be able to get a fair number of drones if he target fires down, but it looks like he is just going to let the Adepts do their thing. And I don't know what else he would have been looking at, actually. It would have caused him to not just be targeting drones.
I mean, he does kill a lot of Lings. There really aren't that many on the field right now, and Oracle finding a little bit more. So 6 workers have died. We're also sitting at... Actually, we're going up to 4 Oracle here really early. This is not... Normally, you stop at 3, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to get everything else, and then I'm going to go back into Oracle play. That's nice, but Oracle's finding a little bit more. It gets 8 workers. It gets more in the stasis. I don't think he lost one. No, he did not. So, Neeb, again, a really enticing style coming out from the man. Behind this, Blink is on the way. He's going to get that Robo really quickly, too. This is... It has shades of hero style to it, but this is an entirely, at least in the modern meta, an entirely new way of looking at ZVP, or PVZ.
To me, this actually reminds me of old school Neeb. This makes me feel like old school Neeb, where he puts on a bunch of pressure. It's a really unique self-made style a little bit, and he comes up with it himself. He gets a ton of pressure, doesn't overcommit, trades very, very well with the units, but behind it, his production and just macro is insane. He was up at one point, it was 54 probes to 38 drones. Now, DRG has started to catch up, but he is still down in workers. Neeb is already at his ideal 3-base saturation. This is a really, really nice follow-up from Neeb in terms of just the way he's macroed this. I'm very impressed by Neeb once again.
Now, Steadfast, the one that we have to be careful of, and I'm less afraid of it in this game with, hey, how many more Stalkers are on the field be with these 4 Oracles here, with the 4 Oracle here, is +1 is done. Blink is not yet done for these Stalkers of Neeb, so you do have to be careful about the surround, but if you find your way into that choke, I mean, the Lings are never going to surround. Here they come, but the Queens actually, they're on the backside. The Oracles are knocking down all the Lings. It's a force field of bodies of Stalkers here for Neeb. And yeah, some of the Lings, they come spilling on back, but that was not what DRG wanted.
No, that was 2 Stalkers for 23 Lings and a Queen. That is a very, very nice trade right here for Neeb. He finishes up that +1 weapons. It's going to make these Stalkers even more potent. We see DRG, he does try and wrap around on the Stalkers. There's actually not that many for Neeb. Neeb needs to get out of here. He needs to get these Stalkers away from creep. The Queens are actually really starting to shell away at them. 6 Queens are here, but with more reinforcing Stalkers, Neeb he's actually really overstaying, and I like the way DRG is doing this. He's trying to wrap around on the Stalkers at the back, but Neeb using his own Stalkers as like a force field blanket to cover the ones that had their blink on cooldown and were low on HP. Very nice move from Neeb. He does need to be a little bit more careful though. He's been rather reckless with these units.
And the key thing there, Steadfast, is the Oracles, they ran out of energy right as Neeb to move on forward, so nothing to really to buffer for the Stalkers off creep. As there we go, Revelation moving forward. Another creep tumor does go down. Oh man, Neeb trying to snipe that one, unsuccessful. And here we go, Lings on the backside with more and more Stalkers arriving. The human force fields, or I guess the dead Protoss force fields in these Stalkers, preventing that from getting too much more. Is now again with an observer here. Neeb can be a little bit more judicious with his Oracle energy. He can actually use them to kill Lings and get stasis traps and all those wonderful things. Is running through this choke. I mean, it is so hard for DRG. But Neeb actually a bit on a move command because he has a big run by into his third base. This is what broke the game open in game 2. This is what found way back into the game in game 1. But DRG on the other side trying to fight the Stalkers here. Neeb, he's microing so damn well. The Roaches, they're just all going down. And yeah, sure, 4 probes die in the third base of Neeb, but he knocks down so many of the Roaches. And this is a really strong pushing position now.
This is looking so scary right now for DRG. His Queens are running out of energy. A lot of these Stalkers are very, very low on HP. Neeb does need to take a breath. He just needs to take a breath or wait for Zealots to come in and just win the game right now, because this is an overwhelming army supply all of a sudden, and Neeb is going to be able to push through. The Zealots were just what he needed to buffer for these Stalkers. He's going to blink on forward and takes the game, wrests it out of his opponent's hands, rips it away from DRG.
Rip and tear. But you know, man, that was what a time for Neeb to break out something new. I know you say, yeah, okay, it reminds you of old Neeb. Fine. That's true, but that is not a style that we've seen for the most part, really, the last 2-3 years. I mean, I think we can safely almost call it new at that point. Regardless, DRG was not prepared for that whatsoever. He lost workers, he lost a ton of Lings, he built a ton of Lings that really didn't do all that much. He lost workers anyways, and Neeb with his economic build, that was really damn cool. But I don't know that it works as well on, say, a bigger map like Data C, which is coming up.
Yeah, I think it could, actually. I think it could, because there's kind of places that you can leapfrog from. The thing is, I like the concept of just doing it, doing the build Neeb did once in a best of 5. I just like that concept. I would love to see him open 3 gates again and maybe go for a follow-up with Glaive Adepts, or maybe he goes double Stargate Phoenix. I'm open to all options, honestly. Double Stargate Phoenix is one of those builds that it's really difficult to deal with if it goes unscouted. If you know that it's happening, it can sometimes get bopped a little bit. There are some timings where the Phoenix numbers are not that big, especially with a lot of +1 melee Lings. It can be a really good situation. And we have seen DRG open that way just about every game. But I think it'd be interesting to mix it in. We'll see what he goes for. I don't think we're going to see that 3-gate opener again in general, but if he does, I'd be down for double Stargate follow-up.
All right. Yeah. Hey, double Stargate. Again, it's one of those things we've been talking about in general, where this heavy focus on ground. I mean, yeah, you get the Stargate, you get the Oracles, but this heavy focus on ground toss, and again, it just opens the playbook so much further, because it's just harder to figure out, and the Protoss has to, or the Zerg has to play differently, so they don't just hard counter one thing. But we're gonna have to see if that's what Neeb wants to go for, or maybe something a little bit more tradition. He's still damn good with just the real vanilla hero PvZ, as he does add his own wrinkles over time. And the question also, Steadfast, is how much does he want to show? Because there's still some pretty damn scary Zergs in the bracket that he may have to run into as the tournament does continue.
That's a fair point. Personally, I think DRG is scary enough that you use the majority of what you have at your disposal. You use them builds, you know. But for now, we're getting into it. Game number 4, Neeb with an opportunity to make it into into the round of 8. I mean, he's got an opportunity to make it into game 5 as well, but he doesn't want to.
No, he doesn't. So in the bottom left, Undata C, he is in the blue. He's looking dominant. It's Neeb.
And his opponent, spawning up at the top right for Team NV, it is DRG. He's in the game. We've got a really, really neat approach, by the way, from Neeb, that I want to talk about why I love this and why I feel that he's earned it and why I feel it's a great opener. So, game 1, game 2, game 3, he scouts. He mixes it up a little bit. You know, I think in game 1, he didn't go with a hatch block. In games 2 and 3, he did. But he did not avoid a scout. He's put himself up 2-1. DRG really not going to want a 12 pull. Neeb doesn't do this kind of thing often. He goes for a gas first, no scout. Now, against a 12 pull, that's an auto loss. You lose the game. Pretty much full stop. You just can't live. You in theory, you could like keep a probe at the front for the timing when the lings might show up. And with the way he set up this wall, he could theoretically full wall it. It would be a nightmare, though. It would be a really, really bad situation. At best, you're going to find yourself heavily behind. But what this enables is some incredibly strong timings that are way faster than a standard scout timing. It may not seem like much, but having the extra mining can be really, really beneficial. So Neeb, I really love this opener that he's gone for in game number 4.
Yeah, what it's if you have a probe on the map for 2 minutes, it's like what 86 minerals, something like it's significant. Especially when we talk about how the economy scales, right? You want money to make more money to make more money. So we're gonna have to see. You talked about early timings, but what version of that does Neeb go for? Of course, Stargate as an opener, but that really shouldn't surprise us, regardless of for the most. I mean, there are some say Twilight Glaive timings, but in general, Stargate is that linchpin that says, oh, is it going to be Void Rays? Probably not. Is it going to be some sort of hero style? I don't know. But for right now, not much build differentiation.
No, certainly not much build order differentiation. It's one of those things that it's a subtle difference, but maybe you take your Nexus 5 seconds sooner. Maybe you get a tech building out 5 seconds sooner. Maybe you show up with, you know, like one extra unit at a very specific timing. The thing is, Neeb could also just not do any aggressive timings. He could literally just be defensive with this, and that would also be a very valid way to play. Just play completely standard, but just have a small eco advantage from this position. And I would also very much appreciate that decision. I think that'd be a good move too. But I just want to point out that I really like that he goes for this. This is a really, really good decision in the context of the series.
It really is. The first Oracle's now going to find its way in as a Depth Shade into the natural as well. Going to really... Oh, actually, wait a minute. DRG, he skips 4s. He said, I'm going to greed this out. And that is actually... That's a big problem. I thought we were going to see a Depths into the natural, but no, they just run on home. And it's only one Oracle running across, so 4 workers go down, but we still don't see Spores on the way. And Neeb's going to add a second Oracle to this pretty damn soon.
Yeah, he's already got the second Oracle showing up, in fact. Like, it is ready to go here. The Queens, okay, they are pretty well positioned here. Neeb, oh, he's going to dart in. I don't know about this. One of the Oracles is very low on HP. He's actually just going to sack it for more drones. And you know what? Actually, same thing in the context of the game. While DRG is trying to recover economically, you stab him in the kidney once again. You trade out that Oracle for another. That was probably an extra 4 or 5 drones that he gets because of that. Maybe even 6. I actually think that's a very, very wise decision from Neeb. He is now up 9 workers. DRG is in a pretty tough spot economically.
DRG's lost 11 drones from those first set of 2 Oracles, and you say, oh, well, you know what? Maybe it's worth 4 to skip a Spore. I don't necessarily know. I think the number's probably closer to 3, but moving on up to 12 workers lost as a penalty, really, for skipping those Spores. Well, that becomes, that's a lot heavier of a toll to pay. So Neeb, third base on the way, adding on those additional Oracles. He says, yeah, you know what? You've earned your keep. I'm going to get more. It is worth replenishing at this point as the third base fully mining. DRG, by the way, is +1 melee. It is pretty damn slow. That being said, the Twilight is... Actually, no, Twilight doesn't even get started for Neeb. This is very late.
Yeah, he's just warping in Stalkers off 4 gates. This is this is a very bizarre timing right here. I mean, there's like nothing on the map. DRG has been consistently re-droning. Ooh, nice Oracle micro right here, pulling them back as they get low and as they get targeted. He's trying to kind of bait those units forward. He does need a Twilight Council quite desperately because Stalkers without Blink are going to be really crap over time. And there we go. He does start up that Forge and Twilight Council. He was floating a fair bit of money for a little while, so I really hope that he didn't, you know, forget them. I don't think so, because he did go for 4 gates, but I don't know. It is possible in the heat of the moment. Neeb isn't the kind of player that when he's on form makes those kind of mistakes, though. Ooh, double adept into natural. Will get into a really nice little wedge position. And we'll be able to find some drones in the natural. Meanwhile, pushing forward at the front. And it will be the same concept as before. Oh, these Stalkers are so low on HP, but they will get out of the range of the Queens, and Oracles are going to cover them.
That seemed to work really well for Neeb. And he did supply block DRG. He got the Overlord, and that that was kind of what he was pushing on. It was why DRG was not able to defend at first. Oh wait, the Lings, they're gonna find their way in before the wall pops up. This is actually a big problem. The Stalkers they're not okay. They say the Oracles are too scary. Never mind.
Yeah, you don't know where the army is. You don't know. There's probably a shield battery or cannon in the middle line. I like the decision to not go in.
The fun thing, or the problematic thing here for Neeb right now is he wedges his way into a corner. Lings are not really going to be able to get too much surface area. Oracles fly on over.
Ooh.
That being said, though,
this is +1 melee.
They're shredding these.
This is why that Blink being late is such a big problem. The thing is, because Neeb was so well positioned, even with the +1 melee, he ends up killing 43 Zerglings and only actually loses 5 Stalkers. That's still a net positive trade for Neeb. And considering how much he'd pressured DRG, forced him to build those units. This is not DRG making mistakes. This is Neeb leading him around by the nose, forcing certain reactions. I am loving the way that Neeb is playing this series. He's playing some absolutely cuckoo bananas amazing StarCraft so far.
He does have to be careful getting out of creep right now, though.
Yeah.
Oh, one Stalker will go down. Oracles actually, they don't have a lot of energy left here, but Blink is going to be done just not soon enough, though. That being said, DRG says, I'm running out of Lings. I gotta back the hell on up. But that timing I was so worried about, Steadfast, where you don't have Blink and +1 is done, and it feels really scared to move on the map. Oracles were able to buffer it enough, and with double Forge here, these Stalkers are going to get really scary.
I was hoping to summon +2 attack into existence, but unfortunately not able to do so. We are going to see the Lings trying to wrap around, but Neeb, he is going to be able to blink back and only losing 1 or 2 of these Stalkers. So he's going about it in different ways, but he's doing so many similar things to the hero style. He is taking extraordinarily good trades. He's utilizing Blink Micro. He's utilizing Oracles off creep to get the best possible trades over time, and I'm so impressed with what we're seeing out of Neeb. But I feel like we've been talking about what Neeb's been doing this whole time. DRG, he's recovered himself to a really nice drone count now. He's about to have 2-1 for his Lings. The Roaches are not going to be that powerful, but he is really heavy on the Lings anyways. That's what he wants. I am still impressed with... honestly, they're both playing some phenomenal StarCraft right now.
They really are, and the question now is whether DRG is going to be able to survive to the timing he's looking for. Right now, it feels scary. It seems like, in general, against this hero style, it does feel scary. While you don't have your next level of tech, whether it's not going to be Lurkers in this game, but whether it's Lurkers or Infestors, actually I haven't really seen much of that, or whether it's going to be Ultras, something like that. So, we do have the Infestation Pit done. Hive should get started on the way behind this one, and eventually DRG moving into that Ultra play, but if we remember that last game, Neeb was able to find enough value that DRG never got theirs. Oh, Neeb, that's an aggressive blink forward on top of these Stalkers, on top of the Queens. But he says there are just not enough Lings here. But that being said, this might be just a little bit too much. The Stalkers on the right side are falling down, but the left side, they're still firing strong as here come more and more Lings. Neeb, I feel like you have overstepped here in this fight. And yes, the Stalkers are going to have to run on back. The Zealots are falling. Not enough Queens died to make that worthwhile. And most importantly, at least one Oracle did fall, but on the right side, this is not where the entirety of Neeb's army was because he finds value. Another Queen will fall, and I think this base is actually going to die if Neeb just targets it down.
I think he needs to target it down, and I think he will get it here, which is a phenomenal pickoff. Right as things were starting to look a little bit rough for him, he gets a really, really big find, kicks off the 5th base. He is about to be on 5 bases of his own. He's about to finish up his +2 attack. The Oracles do come on forward. I would love to see not just 1, but 2 more Oracles being built right now. I would love to see Neeb getting back up into that. He's finished his +2 attack. He starts up that +3 attack very, very quickly. He is keeping this creep very, very nicely neutered. Oh, and a nice revelation. Will get both active tumors. Oh, God, but the Ling sweeping in from the backside. Oh, and I love this. DRG is ghosting the army. He's trying to get in on top of these Blinkstalkers. Neeb with a scrambling retreat, but the surround is so good from DRG. So many Stalkers going to go down. We are going to see the Archons coming on forward to cover this retreat from Neeb. But man, oh man, he just lost a lot.
That was really an incredible link control from DRG as well. You talk about ghosting the army. It meant that Neeb really had nowhere to run. You blink back, you get surrounded. You take the fight, you're going to lose it. You don't have enough stuff. But even still, Neeb, he maintains his supply. He's got his 5th base now. You talk about ghosting armies. He's ghosting economy here. 87 probes now the Stalkers. They're going to blink on forward. Notice the Archon positioning. Try to buffer for any sort of links around, but it's Roaches here. Archons do not fight that one nearly as well. So now the Stalkers, they blink on back. Zealots trying to find their way into this base, but they're really not going to find that all that much in Neeb. He's going to lose the Archons. He's got to back the hell off creep. 36 army supply to 118. Yeah, he's got a good economy, does Neeb, but he's got to survive the next couple of minutes. And they're going to be terrifying.
That they are no shield battery this base, so no battery overcharge. The couple of cannons and the Oracles may be enough to discourage him, but that is not the only attack coming right here. We are going to be seeing a big Roach Ling bust on this base. There's a single +2 melee Bane, and it is on a mission. Gets 5 probes right out of the gate, and the Lings destroy every single one of those probes. 16 probes go down. You talked about a worker lead. It's gone. DRG, he is still maxed out. Neeb was doing such a good job. He was in control of this game for so long, but a couple of overly aggressive moves. Maybe he is used to playing players that aren't at the mechanical level of DRG, but DRG was able to get just enough done and survive, get just enough units to take a really, really good fight. And now, I don't know what's going to stop DRG from forcing a game number 5.
Oh man, adrenal glands are on the way. Steadfast, these Lings are about to get a whole hell of a lot scarier. And yeah, +3 a little slower, but adrenal glands is effectively an additional +3 for the Lings anyways, so DRG's going to be very happy about that one. But you talk about being overly aggressive. That blink outside of the 3rd base of DRG where he moves on and just loses every single Stalker. At that point, Neeb had started to equalize the army supply once again. It was starting to look good, but he just lost too damn much. That being said, up until right now, or rather recently, DRG, he was actually down a base from Neeb. We said it was even, but he did lose that base on the 3 o'clock position, so at least from that perspective, you know, maybe the economy is a little bit better. And Neeb still, he's up 7 workers. He's up 9 workers. The Lings, Banes, they're going to find their way onto this base. Neeb does not hold this up. He's just going to try to trade as well as he can. But actually the Stalkers, they're stuck behind, or the Archons are stuck behind the Stalkers here. But oh, great blink forward there, knocking down a bunch of the army of DRG on the left side. It's a good trade, Steadfast. But Neeb, he has to find some way to get the 6 o'clock base back on up.
Yeah, this is starting to get extraordinarily dire. The unfortunate thing for him, too, is he needs this base, and I think he needs another one if he is going to continue to compete with DRG, who has taken 2 additional bases, or well, is about to secure this base on the bottom right. Actually, DRG is only on 68 drones, so he's not on that phenomenal of economy. But as I say that, he's going to add on 9 more. I like that he spruces this up a little bit more. Nexus is going to get canceled. Something that we haven't pointed out that is a really, really good decision from DRG, and it's part of what Scarlet has been doing. Is DRG going to give me a chance to make this point? Oh, he doesn't want to. Oh, Bailey's going to come on forward. Neeb. Oh, pulls the probes.
So he's got... Oh, actually...
He will keep him alive. Good job.
I was going to say he got the pull, but he was just going to run into DRG's army, except actually DRG comes flooding in from every side. Steadfast, before you make your point, I know you want to look at resources lost. That is very heavily in favor of DRG.
It was actually worse. It was 6,000 a little bit ago. And at one point, it was 69 Zealots, which is nice, but not for Neeb. Ooh, these cannons. Oh, +2 melee Banes. Oh, he gets 1 probe. Those probes felt the acid. Neeb is maxed out once again. He's going to go for a big push. That is so many queens from DRG, by the way. DRG, he actually... This is scary for him. The way you beat this army without Hive is mass Baneling. And he doesn't have any gas. He wants to try and force Neeb back home, but Neeb, he's actually not going to go for this big hit, timing. He is going to back home, or at least, well, go back home a little bit. Oh, 5 oracles versus the Spore. The Spore gets obliterated. Very cool move from Neeb.
Oh, but not enough energy to get much more, though. 4 workers will go down, and he doesn't even snipe the Queen. But you talk about Archon count. I mean, this is terrifying. These 3-2-1 Archons, they're going to have a lot to say about the Banelings. Banelings look to find their way on in, but actually, no, DRG just rotating north side because Neeb has absolutely outpositioned him here. You got to get Archons on the front, though. You got to make sure you can defend against that. In fact, it looks like DRG has a big run by into the 3rd base of Neeb, but now Neeb, he knocks down the 4th base of DRG. Banelings really not getting the connections they're looking for just yet. Look at the splits here from Neeb and the Oracles. Looks like a couple of them did go down, but the Archons, they still stand strong, still with heavy shield loads, and that was an incredible move here from the Thundershaft as he continues to find his way on into the natural, but no real reinforcements just yet, so you gotta be careful, don't want to overextend.
No, he certainly doesn't want to overextend, but he just took an amazingly good trade, and that actually put Neeb back ahead by 1,000 resources lost. That was a ridiculously good trade for Neeb here. Ooh, he might be getting a little bit too far forward. Lings will disengage, though. DRG recognizes the terror of this army. He doesn't have a greater spire. He doesn't have anything that deals with this army effectively. And I said he needed mass Banes. He didn't have enough to crack that front line and let the Lings get in on top of those juicy stalkers in the backfield. And now we are seeing Ravagers coming on in. Ooh, Roach Ravager, hang on. This is kind of... Okay, there we go. Neeb does blink to the side to let those Archons through. They have +3 weapons. They do so much damage to Zerg.
That being said, though, these Lings, these +3 cracklings are shredding everything Neeb holds dear. He loses that 5th base. He lost a decent amount of probes at the 4th, but really the question is whether DRG can make any sort of commensurate damage because he's going to lose the 3 o'clock base. Neeb is aware now because of where the workers are going, if he was not aware earlier, of the base in the bottom right. So Steadfast, in an 18-minute game, it feels like the end of things. I know he knew about that, but we're going into a base trade here. Neeb loses his 4th. DRG back down onto 3 hatch as well. He's getting his 4th, sure, on the way, but it's not anywhere anytime soon. And you gotta remember here, Steadfast, Zerg has to run. Neeb, he can teleport his army back home to defend any sort of additional pressure.
That is very true right there. 28 drones went down during all this. DRG is in a terrible economic spot. Yes, Neeb got knocked back down to 3 bases himself, but this base, which is going to be a lot easier to secure, I feel, for Neeb than DRG trying to, well, maybe he can. He's got a lot of creep. Either way, if they get back to a more stable situation, the superior worker count for Neeb is going to be a big factor here. But the Banelings, and unable to do anything. Lings trying to wrap around on the Archons, but the Archons have big shields, big honking psionic blasts. However, the Roach Ravager on the bottom side is going to chew through them. The Queens are transfusing like crazy on the top. Can Neeb hold this position? DRG just killed 42 probes on the other side. Neeb, he needs to kill off these Ravagers and then focus the Queens after.
He's all in his hell, but it looks like it might work anyways. He blinks forward on top of the Ravagers, on top of the Roaches. The Queens, though, they're standing strong and steadfast. The Oracles, they're out of energy here. And you talk about 28 workers. What's more important, Neeb, he only has 8 probes remaining. For a second, it was looking really good. You're like, okay, well, it's 3 bases versus 3 bases, but he's got about 50 probes. Maybe he's going to be okay. No one is mining much anymore. 48 supply to 48. More Archons on the way. The Oracle's going to find the last-ditch efforts, the last dread, the last vestiges of the economy here of DRG. But Neeb, how does he make this happen now? He really can't reinforce. Oh, Oracles on top of the Ravager. Stocks blink forward. Another Oracle, another Ravager does fall, and the Queen out of position here. Is Neeb going to get that one? Looks like he will at the end of the day. The Oracles, they still stand strong, but where are the Archons? There they are now, finding their way on in. Stocks, they got to blink out. Wardlings are here. How is Neeb? He only has 8 probes. How is he even keeping this supply close?
I have no idea. The army retention is phenomenal. I love the way he's positioning these Archons, just using them as a safe base for the Stalkers to blink back to. And the Lings are going to try and get on top of this. They will get one of the Archons good spreads from DRG. The second Archon goes down, and Neeb has lost that safe haven. He is so far down in supply. It is just Lings. DRG is desperately trying to get out as many units as he can. Both players are flat broke. Of course, DRG is mining so much more than his opponent, but Neeb is so close to breaking through. However, I think DRG is going to get out just enough. Neeb needs to individually micro these stalkers so perfectly.
Oh, he moves up high ground to move command because he couldn't see anything, and that is gonna do it. DRG, what a hell of a game. We're going to game 5.
I feel like there must have been the world's biggest Baneling run by at that third base, because 42 probes died in the blink of an eye. Neeb, he looked like he was in complete control of that game at many, many instances. DRG, first of all, he battles back. Then Neeb has that huge timing where his army is just gigantic, so much more powerful than DRG's. DRG, unreal. That was an amazing game.
That was, oh man, we talked about how it felt like Special Clem was the best series of the of our broadcast here on the B stream. I think I'm wrong. We weren't wrong then, but I think we're wrong now. What a flexible game plan there from DRG. I mean, part of it is you go mass ling, you go heavily upgraded lings, you know it's probably going to go to a base trade at some point, but the way he was able to turn that, you talk about the big Baneling run by, not really sure, but going from 50 workers to 8 in the blink of an eye, suddenly it's not Neeb. Oh, you know, he's kind of okay. It's 3 bases at 3, but he has more workers too. Okay, he's all in. Can he make something happen? No. And, I mean, how long was that game? 19 minutes? Something? 20 minutes? Insane play from these two players.
That was really, really incredible. I am super, super impressed with both of these players. They have come ready for war in this series. Neeb, oh man, that was so impressive. Sorry, the point that I wanted to make, by the way, is something that I've noticed Scarlet's been doing in a lot of her games. And when you go up against the Zealot Stalker style, like really, really heavy commitment to the Zealot Stalker, so basically, you know, hero style, is skipping Ravagers. Not building those Ravagers for the most part. It's almost purely Roach Ling Bane. And the reasoning for that is you expect to lose a lot of units over time. You expect to be critted? I don't know, attrition. You expect to suffer attrition over time. So why would you give your opponent a big, juicy 100 minerals, 100 gas resource unit that they can just target fire down and blink away? It's easy to click. It's gigantic. It's this big, bubble-butted unit in the form of the Ravager, when instead, you can just have a Roach. It's going to draw the same amount of overkill if your opponent just clicks it down and then blinks out. Yeah, you're just saving money.
Well, all about efficiency there, and we did see some Ravagers at the end or in the mid game, but yeah, certainly not as many.
That was after Archons were added in response to them. Yeah.
But now, folks, we're gonna move into Game 5 Moondance, which has led to some really bonkers ideas in this matchup. We're gonna have to see if that happens again in our 5th and final game of the day. It's been an incredible series thus far, but let's get in Game 5. And folks, for the last time, in the bottom right here, in the red for Team Envy, the man from Busan, it's DRG.
And his opponent, spawning up at the top left for Onside Gaming, representing North America's hopes, it is Neeb. I think this is the most unexpected base for DRG to take right here.
Honestly?
Yeah. So obviously he gets hatch blocked. Makes sense. Now, to me, that leaves you 2 options. You take the super safe backdoor base. It's less efficient. I'm totally okay with not taking that. So you take the triangle base. DRG says, nuh-uh. I'm taking the 3 o'clock base. I want my creep to be here by 6 minutes. I want to envelop my opponent's 4th base by like 7.5. Like, I don't know why else you would take it other than to, you know, push that creep very far forward. It's a really bold move, I feel, out of DRG. Kind of spreads you a little bit more thin than maybe you would like to be.
And that is something that really has become more and more important as we've watched this meta develop. Scarlet has actually done a great job of it. It's one of the reasons she was able to do so well against Hearthstone and honestly against Crater, although Crater played his own style and she did lose, but it gave her agency on the map. As you got to push this creep really as hard as you would against the Terran, because it's all about the line of demarcation, right? If you're able to push it back, it's about map control. Really, that's what this matchup is. We talk about pressure and can you force drones to work or not work, but at its core, this new style is all about map control. Can the Protoss wedge their way into the point where the Zerg feel scared, or can they keep them far enough back where they can build things that are not units?
Exactly. And that's what we've been seeing out of Neeb. Textbook. We've been seeing exactly what you described. He's been keeping that creep back. He did a really good job in game number 4. It's a real shame that he wasn't able to close that one out. I did feel like he had a lot of opportunities to potentially win that. I mean, you got to give credit to DRG for being able to come back and being able to rally back into that game, make some great lane run bys, constantly doing what he needed to do and constantly respreading his creep. But Neeb has been the one who's been pushing the issue. And that's what I meant by like it feels like Neeb has been following the tenets of the hero style. And we've got him going for the exact same build that he went for in that was game number 2, I believe, correct?
I think it was game 3. It was game 3. Because he won game 1 and 3, and he did win off that build.
Yes, he won game. Yeah.
And it's gonna be really interesting to see how that works out on this map. Because first of all, you talk about the weird spot. We haven't seen DRG take the triangular base, which is decently safe, or the fourth base, or the pocket third, and that does mean he's maybe a little bit more wide open. But is DRG actually gonna get? He should get the scout, right? I mean,
yes.
Yeah, he's gonna see one gateway. He should. I don't know. He's not gonna see.
He doesn't see
second. Oh, he does.
Oh,
okay.
he sees it. Oh, okay.
We're good.
Oh. And that's going to cause him to build a bunch more lings. Now, part of what made this so good for Neeb in game number 3 was he got his adepts into a really, really good nook after he baited the queens out of position. And this is a situation where because this third base is a little, well, I mean, both thirds would be pretty far away from one another. But because this third base is a little bit further away, I feel like the adepts coming in, ironically, feel like Neeb, if he swept around from the far right side, it'd be a little bit more beneficial for him because he could draw everything over to the right. Oh, nice little stasis ward. Does get one of those queens and a couple drones. Could draw everything over to the right, but instead he's going to find a queen here.
I mean, we talked about this. Oh, there's just a recall. Okay. You know, it's not as much as he got in game 3, as he will lose an adept on the backside, but disabling one queen, killing another. Queens are, again, arguably probably the most important unit. I don't think arguably the most important unit Zerg gets in the early game. It enables pretty much all of DRG's game plan as he tries to stay safe. So a little bit less creep spread, maybe. A little bit less injects, whatever he does opt to go for. But behind this, of course, Neeb, third base on the way. He's getting Twilight. He's getting Forge. We're not seeing the really delayed Twilight build. That actually worked out, pretty well for Neeb in game 4.
Ooh, nice job right there with those oracles. As the queens are moving to inject, he actually steps in, picks off 3 drones. That's a great little find right there for Neeb. Something that, once again, Neeb has been able to do, and he's been able to do this throughout this series, and he's been able to find a lot of success with it, and that's kind of what his style seems to hinge on, why it feels so consistent, and why when he feels good, he feels like one of the best players in the world, genuinely, is forcing out units instead of drones. DRG was at 36 drones for quite a while. Neeb ended up basically just trading one of his adepts for one of his opponent's queens. Would he have loved to trade out more lings? Yes, absolutely, because those adepts lose value over time. But he still gets himself in a good economic position, sets up this 4th base. I'm liking this play out of Neeb a lot. I still feel like this is a pretty even game. We see another couple of drones going down, but I love the way Neeb is playing this.
Yeah, the fun part about, you talk about getting that quick 4th, that is the reason that Moondance is so weird, because you kind of have this weird half base, 2/3 of a base on the bottom side. But players also realize that we're going to take that base, but it also doesn't feel incredible because only 1 gas, not as many minerals, as Lings are going to try to find their way on in with +1, and they're going to shred the Adept, but there's an army here for Neeb. He blocks the wall, so really not all that much is going to be happening right there. But DRG, He's actually cutting workers here for just a little bit. He's building a bunch of stuff on the map, getting ready for Neeb's eventual aggression. But Blink is not yet done for Neeb. This is the scariest moment on the map for him for the next several minutes. We're going to have to see whether DRG is going to be able to make something happen, as a good amount of his lings are on the other side of the map, finding their way into the natural, into the fourth base maybe, but no, not really. And now Neeb on the right side. Oh. He just recalls. Okay, you know what? I don't hate that. Blink is not yet done. A lot of lings on the field. And there's some pressure on the other side. Yeah, you give up on maybe some creep control, but you don't lose anything either. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and the most important thing is that the oracles were not there overhead to cover. Initially, I was like, oh man, that's a terrible recall. But no, it was actually very, very smart. Blink was still, what, 5-10 seconds away from completing? And I know that the difference between 5 and 10 seconds is a huge in that situation. It's the difference between maybe, 4 or 5 more stalkers going down if he does stick around. Regardless, it's a very, very mature decision from Neeb, and it was absolutely the right one. That was forced out by DRG, of course, pressuring with those lings, forcing Neeb to come back home. DRG's ling usage has been otherworldly this series. It has been absolutely S tier, top notch. King of the hill, king of the castle, phenomenal. I don't know, whatever, gold standard.
Sure.
Filet mignon. Calbi beef? Kobe beef.
Wagyu. No, Wagyu.
Wagyu. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, the interesting thing about this Deadfest, I wonder, man, look at you talk about taking that third. I mean, we're seeing the benefits of it here. Neeb has to run through over hill and under dale to try to find his way onto the other side of the map. And look at the surround that DRG is setting up. But we do, okay, that's Stace's nice job there, DRG. He's going to trigger it off. His lings, again, trying to find their way on in. But yeah, that's a
nice
big warp in. Actually gets a lot of lings on the backside.
Yeah, it was funny because there was a little bit of a gap between the stalker and the wall. I don't know if that was a warped in stalker, or if it moved out of position or what it was, but kind of a funny little situation. But Neeb's like, I have 1 stalker in wall. Now I have 9 stalker in wall. 9 stalker is enough. And, he just blocks it off and is like, okay, good. I like that. Nice job, Neeb. He is about to hit a very nice 2-1 timing. Something we haven't seen all series long. I was wondering if we might have seen it in Game 4. Didn't mention it at all. Storm. The transition into Storm is so good against heavy Baneling compositions.
And I think there's 2 reasons behind this. First of all, heavy Ling Bane compositions, you just shred them. But also, Neeb, because he had to go recall. All right, he lost his map pressure because it wasn't quite timed out properly. Oracles weren't where they needed to be. Suddenly, he's lost the ability to pressure on the map for the most part, which means he's going to have to play defensively, which means he's going to have floods of Ling's Banes rolling their way into chokes, which means there's a bunch of those adepts will go down, which does mean that is where Storm is far more effective than when you kind of have to build your own setup. You have to build your own walls, but Banelings, they come rolling in. Neeb, oh, good. A good warp in, a good pull. He's going to be fine there. Shield battery overcharged as well. Can keep the Cyber Core alive, so no value for DRG just yet. Stalker's actually active on the map, knocking some creep spread down, but DRG, his entire army, is the right side. Storm done in 10 seconds. Lings, oh no! Lings are going to get on top of the High Templar here. It's going to morph all Archons. There are no Storms available right now, but Neeb actually taking a decent fight right side. All the Lings are knocking down. Looks like Banelings rolling into the third base. No, just Lings into the third base here. Neeb, that was almost disastrous for him, but actually the second set of Lings, they're going to knock down a lot of these Stalkers because the shield batteries have gone down at the third base. Despite that, though, excellent, incredible crisis management from the American.
That was so close to being a complete, utter disaster for Neeb. But even with the loss of all those high energy high Templar, it feels like when you make that kind of move as a Zerg player, you find those high Templar just before Storm completes. It feels like you've won the game. You're like, oh my god, I got his tech. Oh my god, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. So you swarm forward. He hits in so many different places, but Neeb, like you said, managed to crisis manage his way through that and actually doesn't really lose much in terms of actual army, very much at all. He stays on par with his opponent's army split. DRG does rebuild a little bit quicker, and of course that is the nature of Zerg, but in terms of army value, Neeb is really starting to pull ahead, and now he will have quite a few High Templar with Storm. This is extraordinarily scary for DRG, especially with this +3 weapons completing. We're going to have a +3 weapons, +1 armor, +1 shields set up for Neeb. I am pretty scared for DRG right now, especially with the loss of a lot of his creep.
that push felt like it was going to kill Neeb, or at least get game at deciding damage. And then Neeb says, yeah, hell no. No, I'm just going to hold everything. And now Neeb is massively far ahead. The Storm's just on everything here. Yeah, you know, Storms don't one-shot anything. They don't kill Roaches and Ravagers, but they soften things up for everything else. Lings and Banes trying to find their way on into the natural here, but the Storms are going to be damn nice. None of the Banelings really get a connection on top of the Roach Ravagers as well. But DRG Supply is telling a different story here. Neeb, he's got to make sure he's able to survive just a little bit longer. Another Archon falls. Neeb needs more Warp Pins. But here we go. Here come the Oracles. It's so hard to run away from this, but actually, no, you can, because the Oracles seems like they've run out of energy for the most part.
That they have, but we see the value of these Oracles getting really, they really shine against Ravagers. If there's no Queens there to cover against them, nothing to transfuse the Ravagers, they just kill those big booty Ravagers very, very quickly. Both players have once again just been trading blows back and forth. I love this from Neeb. He takes this top right side base. DRG has been focusing his efforts here. He's got some nice static defenses coming on up. This is going to be hard to attack into without fully committing. Ooh, Zealot run by into the main base. We also see Banelings trying to come in on this base, but Neeb pulls the probes in time, only losing 2 of them. Really nice positioning on this Queen, but these are 3-2-1 Zealots, and they're hitting 2 places at once right now.
Yeah, Steadfast, I want to point out, I think Neeb intentionally warped. I mean, there's really nowhere in the main base that you can't warp in Vision, but I think he intentionally warped in Vision because he warped in all those Zealots, and then he ran 4 more into the third base after DRG had reacted to him, which I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it really worked out for him there. It did allow the Zealots to maybe theoretically find a little bit more spine, maybe made a difference. But now DRG, he loses a base. It's a kill, not a cancel. Immortal's starting to follow it. Well, no, Zealots are going to save it, actually. Immortal will not go down. Zealots, or Ling run by not getting all that much, and now Neeb on the aggression. Your Banelings get some really nice connections, but it is on Stalkers and on Archon, so that really doesn't make that big of a deal. Storms blanket everything. DRG's on death's door. Neeb into the round of 8.